All right. Hey, everybody out there in Twitch land. We're back with the game time with Doc, Lurch, and Angel. We're just logging in about a minute early just to get the sound check. Actually, just clicked over at 8 o'clock. Lurch will be right
Right
back.
on.
He went to go get some water. Yep, right on time. Uh, we're going to do a sound check real quick with me and Angel just to make sure you can hear us okay. So, check 1, 2, check 1, 2.
Howdy ho, good neighbors.
Okay, now that wasn't good at all, but let me double check to make sure that my sound is set up okay in my computer, because I could have my Google sound. Yeah, Google Chrome is just way down. I couldn't hear it, but let's try that again. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Let's try that.
Checkity would check.
Check 1, 2, check 1, 2.
Hello,
Checkity would check.
Check 1, 2, check.
fellow neighbors. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
I heard everybody there.
This is
Okay, yeah.
this is Game Time ASMR. We will have a really good show for you today. I brought lots of things to touch, fondle for your hearing pleasures.
Right. Yeah. And we're going to start doing something too in the future where we're going to go around with everybody, possibly at the beginning of each show, just really quickly see how their week has been. That was suggested by Angel earlier. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because we go off on tangents quite well. So we're only going to take 5 or 10 minutes at it. But Angel suggested it. So how's your week been, Angel?
I'm so glad you asked. I recently made a wooden DM stream that was like wood burned and whatnot. It's great. Put a whole bunch of magnets on it. That was a while ago, but today I just got this week I put it on Facebook and holy shit, got a lot of likes. The reason why I say it is because it matches the new table that I just built this week that has a massive 55-inch television on the inside, so we can have a battle mat easily, much more easy to put on the table.
Use something like
everybody
Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 and just broadcast it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or just even take one that you made in like Excel or Paint or something and just throw it up there. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's how
Campaign Cartographer, any of those programs. That would be awesome. How about you, Lurch? How's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. I'm learning how to use the Steam Deck. I got, I don't remember if I got it before last show or if
You had just
after.
got it.
I just got it. So I'm learning a little bit more about how to use it. I'm using it as an opportunity to try to play some PC games I never played before because, I've got lots of consoles, but not, I haven't really, and while I have computers, my computers have always been, schoolwork, work, writing, some kind of task I need to do. Some sort of, for me a computer is mostly utility.
I'm so sorry. I will be right back.
Okay, no problem.
All right. And so it's I don't know, it's almost a psychological thing of switching from using a computer for those things to playing games on it. I had a few things on Steam before for homework and stuff because I'd studied some game design and things when I was in college. But so I tried playing Baldur's Gate on it, and I figured out I got my PS5 controller synced up with it, but I found that Baldur's Gate does not work well with a controller, whether it's that controller or even the Steam Deck controller. It needs a keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to use a regular keyboard and mouse. It didn't seem too comfortable using that at my couch because I got my Steam Deck hooked up with a base to the big TV, and I want to be able to sit on the couch and be comfortable. And so I just got in the mail today a new wireless gaming mouse and a wireless half keyboard for the left hand that's got the WASD keys and a bunch of other extra stuff over there. And I got these little pads that have beanbags on the bottom, so I can have them tilted at a comfortable angle and sit steady on the couch and the armrest and stuff. And I'm going to be trying those out this week and use it for Baldur's Gate. And since I couldn't do the Baldur's Gate with the PS controller or the Steam Deck controller super well, technically, mechanically, it works. It's got a little mouse trackpad you can move around, but it's such a small Baldur's Gate has a lot of like small text and like precision clicking on things and getting that precision with the little mouse trackpad that's on the Steam Deck was not going super well for me, and so like I was struggling to get through the tutorial, and so I was like, you know what, I want to do it the correct way, but in a way that I can still be comfortable on the couch, on the TV, and all that stuff. And then so in the meantime, I've been playing Half-Life. I've never played the Half-Life games, so I'm playing the original Half-Life with a PS5 controller through the Steam Deck. It's been a fun game, even if sometimes things can feel a little clunky. Like I mentioned on Facebook, I made a post about 90% of my deaths come from falling, and most of those falls are from off ladders. And I got a lot of responses going. Even back in the day, that game was known to be clunky for controls. But yeah, I mean, it's a first-person shooter game made in 1998.
Which game was this again?
What are we talking about?
Oh, Half-Life.
Half-Life.
The Steam Deck and I'm mentioning Half-Life.
Lurch is week. Well, coincidentally, my week has been kind of related to that because I've been playing a couple of other games on Steam this week. I've been playing Dark and Darker, which is kind of a New Age Tarkov clone, if you ever played Tarkov. It's survival dungeon delving, and it's really, really difficult. And they're in beta testing, and they open up for just like a week at a time. But it's open beta, so you don't have to pay to be in the beta. And it's kind of interesting. And I've been playing that. Then I also started playing 7 Days to Die. And that's an interesting zombie survival game that I've been kind of taking on Steam with my guild from Fractured. Since Fractured hasn't had an update in almost 2 months, we've been looking elsewhere to find things to play to keep us interested while we're waiting for updates. And so I've been playing Albion and 7 Days to Die and Dark and Darker. So my week has kind of been that, and then of course Christmas baking. Alice cooked some cookies over the weekend. The kids doing some cookies right now and making dinner, and I'm getting ready to do some cookies on Thursday. So lots of Christmas baking going on over here as well.
Sounds like it.
Didn't you like a week or two ago mention some sort of like a contest show about baking that was comedic?
Dr. Seuss Baking Challenge last week.
Oh, the Dr. Seuss. Okay.
That was last.
I forgot the Dr. Seuss part. I knew it was something kind of silly because I went out to eat at a restaurant where they had a TV set up and they were showing I saw the first 5 minutes of an episode of this Bake Off, contest show, but it was all like comedians and comedy actors that were competing in the cooking show, and the judges were grandmas. Which
that's called Let's Bake.
Oh my God, that sounds hilarious.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen the commercial.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It looks really good. The grandmas are the.
I only saw the first 5 minutes while I was eating, but it was pretty funny for what they were doing.
Right.
They're like, we have the harshest critics of all, grandmothers.
Yeah, they know baking, man. They do. Other than that, not much is going on this week. Because a lot of our shows had ended, the only thing really that we watched new this week was the new episode of Willow. Other than that, and I actually kind of fell asleep through part of it, so I need to rewatch it anyway. But that's okay because we've got 4 episodes of Willow to cover anyway. Anyway, we're going to speed through this week now. We've got various topics to talk on. My main thing I'm going to talk about, and I'll just go ahead and start right now, is just a general what's going on in Hollywood kind of bit, because, of course, the community is in an uproar right now with Peter Safran and James Gunn's handling of the DCU. It's recently been announced that after being confirmed as coming back as Superman, Henry Cavill is now not going to be Superman going forward in the DCU. Also, on top of that, the Black Adam movie is not going to go forward. The Wonder Woman 3 is not going forward. There's rumors out, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, that Aquaman may get canceled. And they've already...
What, man? Wait, what was...
Aquaman might even get canceled.
Aquaman, okay.
Yeah.
I completely misheard you, and it sounded like Waffle Man.
No.
And I was like, what was this?
I do wanna just like interject on that one point because yeah, I think that James Gunn is done with the messiness of this iteration of the DC universe and wants to restart completely.
He wants to
I agree with
mostly reboot. Some things may not get rebooted. Like there's talk about Peacekeeper still getting its second season and the Suicide Squad going forward, and some other slight soft reboot retcons.
So the things he made are going to continue.
Well, not just that. He wants to make a younger Superman to get started over again. And Michael Rosenbaum has even put his hat in the ring to try to reprise his role as Lex Luthor in the new Superman. Fan kind of mentioned him as a fan cast, and he come back and said, "Yeah, I'd love to be considered for the role." Which of course,
Michael Rosenbaum could be great as Lex Luthor or as Flash.
Right. Well, but he has put his hat in the ring, saying, "Yeah, I'd love to be Lex Luthor again in the new Superman." So who knows?
That was a little joke because I don't know if a lot of people know that he played the Flash in Justice League, the TV show.
Yeah, he voiced the Flash in the cartoon, and then he played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yep.
But there's
which makes the scene where Lex Luthor entering the Flash's body in that, and he like uncovers the Flash, and he's like, "I have no idea who this is." Really funny.
Absolutely. Other things that are going on, like Gal Gadot's not going forward in Wonder Woman 3, but that does not mean, and James Gunn has also basically come out and said, he's not said that they're not going to use Gal Gadot. All he said is that the Patty Jenkins scripts have been denied so far, which means we don't know what's going to go on with Wonder Woman right now.
I do gotta admit, the second Wonder Woman movie was a bit sloppy. Like, it had some cool ideas, but it was pretty sloppy.
Didn't necessarily like the second one. I was okay with it, but a lot of people weren't.
Well, here's the thing: it was an okay movie, but the first Wonder movie was a great movie.
The first one was by far the best, but the second one also had the cameo with Linda Carter, which was great, and it also was okay. I just don't know if I liked the handling of Cheetah.
There are some exceptions, but like for instance, Spider-Man 2, but like the Tobey Maguire one. But for the most part, the two, the second movie in a trilogy tends to be the worst.
There are exceptions. Like for instance, it's a known axiom in Star Trek movies that even-numbered Star Trek movies are usually great. It's odd-numbered ones that aren't. So the second one was great, and the fourth one was great, but the third one sucked.
So Star Trek is the Windows of the movie world.
Right. But there's so much going on in Hollywood right now, and James Gunn is under fire, especially by the extreme Snyderverse fans. However, he has said some other things may still go. Like, depending on how it goes, the Blue Beetle movie might stay canon with the new DCU. We still don't know yet how the complete handling of the Flash movie is going to be handled.
So far, right now, all we know is what's been canceled. We don't know what of the things that haven't been canceled. It's not looking good that they don't get canceled.
I am in the camp of let's burn everything down and restart it from scratch.
I'm okay.
Because I didn't want James Gunn to have to inherit this fucking mess.
I'm okay with the reboot personally myself, although there are certain properties I kind of would miss, like Peacekeeper. And I mean, Zach Levy has gone on to his Twitter in response to somebody basically saying, you know, it's sad that he's going to be like replaced and stuff. He's like, nah, he's Gucci. He's still good, is what he said. So he might still be going in as Billy Batson and Shazam. But then again, even though there was the after credits scene, we've not had a real direct link with the Snyderverse actors other than that. So, and they were mostly kind of seen not quite in focus. So he could be in the new reboot and it not be so hard to keep him going. But there's some that are more linked than others.
As a big-time Superman fan, I am just kind of sick of getting a new young Superman or Superman starting out to be Superman again, like every 10 years.
Well, it's not supposed to be an origin story. They're not going to do the whole origin story, but they do want to start, according to James Gunn, about earlier in his career as Superman. He is Superman already.
Yeah.
But it's kind of early.
The reason why Superman is so weird is because he has one very obvious weakness, and if you keep using it, then it becomes boring. Yeah, Superman is notoriously a hard character to write.
The other thing,
people have written him really well, but he's just really hard, and so like he's easier to write for whenever he's inexperienced.
And the other thing is, Superman doesn't age as fast as people from Earth.
Right.
And so that's why they keep recasting them as younger, so that they can grow with them again.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't bother me to cast younger, but the idea that I'm hearing is they're wanting to get a younger Superman, not a younger actor, but a younger character. Like he's just getting started in the Superman thing, and I'm like, we've had that like 7 times already. Give us an experienced Superman.
But they're partly doing that because they want to they're possibly rebooting
the very best Superman comics are experienced Superman comics.
All-Star Superman was fantastic. My favorite Superman comic of all time.
But they are trying to, if they try to reboot most of the actors in the Justice League,
that's actually part of what I liked about the Superman and Lois TV series is it's not young Superman, it's experienced Superman. He's got young kids that are growing into this life.
But Tyler Hoechlin is not a teenager.
Yeah, and so it was like we were finally getting a version of Superman that is trying to kind of pass on these things rather than learn these things or become these things.
But if they reboot the rest of the Justice League, they have to kind of back age Superman too. That's the thing.
For someone, see, Superman is always kind of like this character who DC Comics always is he's the shining light of the superhero community.
Right.
It's like we never fucking see him be the shining light of the superhero community.
Yeah. Now, one thing is they did not 100% confirm, but 90% confirm that Jason Momoa is going to probably be Lobo in the reboot. And he's wanted that role. And he has a good look for Lobo. I think he would make a good Lobo.
Lurch, I told you before Aquaman was a thing, you and I, we were talking about who we wanted to see our favorite characters as. I told you Lobo years ago. I said the dude from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I didn't even know his fucking name. I was like, the dude from Game of Thrones would be a great fucking Lobo.
The guy who played the Mountain?
God damn.
The Mountain.
Yeah, he was Jason Momoa, right?
Yeah.
Jason Momoa
Yeah,
was the Mountain. Was Jason
No,
Momoa?
no. He was Khal Drogo.
Oh, Khal Drogo. Yeah, I think that was Jason Momoa.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, I've never seen it, but I've seen clips of it. And I was like, that guy is would make a great fucking Lobo. I told you, like years ago.
And he's a huge Lobo fan, so that would be good too.
So the only thing I've seen, of him and Lobo is him actively wanting to be Lobo. I haven't seen anything confirming anything. I haven't seen anyone from James Gunn or anyone from DC saying that he's being considered. All I've seen is him say that he wants to play Lobo.
I've seen a couple of other.
And I've seen like 5 articles spinning off of that one statement. So at this point, I think it's just a desire that he's mentioned that he wants to do, like, while in an interview. I don't think we've got anything more than that.
Well, he has also said he's done with being Aquaman. He has said that.
Yeah, but
after this most recent movie, if it comes out or not, it's his last time playing Aquaman.
That's fine, but even whether or not he's going to be Aquaman, there's the Warner Brothers executives deciding whether or not they want to further muddy the waters of the DC reboot by bringing back the actor who played Aquaman to play a different character, another major character. Like, as much as I think he's probably the perfect casting for it, Warner Brothers executives make a lot of weird decisions, and I can definitely see them not wanting to use him because of that reason. They didn't want to confuse.
I saw something that James Gunn said he was amenable to it. So.
James Gunn?
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. I can see I absolutely see James Gunn being amenable to it, but at the end of the day, it's his bosses that are going to make that decision.
Although they did say that they were going to give him him and Peter Safran hands-off control, so I don't know.
I hope so.
It sounds like we're putting too much stock in what is effectively a rumor.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say is we got a statement of one guy saying he wants the role, and I kind of hate going on because that happens all the time. An actor will be asked, "Oh, what's a role you would like to have?" and be like, "Oh, I'd love to play this character," and then a dozen articles get written about this actor eyeing this character, and it's like, who's asked the superhero he wants to play?
Don't get me wrong, okay? My 2 favorite entities of all time happen to be in both universes. My favorite entity in DC Comics is Lobo, under no uncertain terms, has been for years, so many years. And my favorite entity in Marvel Comics is Phantom X. They happen to be. Phantom X is a very unknown.
I just couldn't hear you. That was
Yeah. Phantom X is pretty unknown. I wouldn't blame you for not knowing about that 3-brained mutant bastard. But Lobo is like my number 1. I would love nothing more than to see my favorite actor playing it. It does not sound like that's what's happening.
Right. We'll see what happens as we go forward. That's for sure. Let's see. In other news, they've announced February is when they're going to release the next season. Will start for Flash, and that we're also right after Flash premieres. Gotham Knights is supposed to premiere that same day.
That's exciting.
So it's going to be Flash on Tuesdays.
Gotham Knights sounds like the worst DC show in 20 years.
A lot of people have said that the preview is terrible, but that the show sounds like it could be great, but hopefully the preview is just a bad preview. I don't know.
I'm gonna say if I wasn't clear, I was being really.
Facetious.
I think Lurch understood the level of sarcasm I was having.
Yeah.
Because I oftentimes consider Batman to be the worst superhero that we overinflate ridiculously.
You see, and he's one of my all-time favorites. I love him 1,000 times more than Superman.
I mean, I'm not fond of either, but if I had to choose one, I choose Superman over Batman.
See, and I'm the absolute opposite. If I had to choose anybody other than John Constantine in the DC universe, it would probably be Batman. Because I like.
The only one who I think is like more of a joke than Batman is Green Arrow.
Yeah, see, I love Batman, but the only one I think I like more than Batman is either John Constantine or almost on par, I like Etrigan. John Constantine and Etrigan are two of my favorites too, but
Man, I was getting so excited because I thought Etrigan was showing up in Titans, but I got the name wrong. It's Brother Blood. It's because they both got like
Jason
blood magic.
Blood.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Jason Blood turns into Etrigan. Yeah.
Yeah. Same last name. And so I was like getting excited, like the way things are moving. I was like, oh, are we gonna get Etrigan? And they call him Brother Blood, and I was like, wait, it doesn't sound.
Yeah, and Etrigan is just a great.
He's
a great character. He is one of DC's best characters in my opinion. I love Etrigan.
Yeah, Etrigan's great.
Yeah, he is. He really is. Kitty, you can't keep walking on the keyboard.
Nah.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, we're going to get on the other topic.
I was going to say, since you mentioned Keanu Reeves, or since you mentioned Constantine, did you hear that they officially confirmed that they're working on a Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, I announced that a little while back. Oh, one of the other ones I was mentioning, this is completely unrelated to superhero movies, but the studio that's working on Escape from New York has confirmed that their Escape from New York project is not a reboot, but a sequel to the original Escape from New York with Kurt Russell.
What?
Is the new movie going to have Kurt Russell?
They have not confirmed or denied whether it'll have Kurt Russell or his son.
I feel like it's really only interesting if we could get the original Snake Plissken in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, there's rumor that we might get like his son to be in it, playing a character like maybe even playing a son of Snake Plissken, being played by the son of Kurt Russell, which would be kind of amazing if they did it right, because it would be a good excuse to have a walk-on for Kurt at least. But
it'd be funny if they called him Iroquois Pliskin for Metal Gear Solid 2 fans out there.
But it's going to be one I'm looking forward to, is the thing, because I want to see what they do with it. But then, we all know how some of these late-age sequels go. Some go good, some are absolutely horrid. That's just.
There's no way. I'm going to say right now, even if they try to emulate it, there isn't a way to capture the wacky zaniness of like the late '80s action movies today. There just isn't. Their best bet is trying to tell a. Their best bet is to try to tell a new story and not market it as the same vein as the other one. I can't even imagine how they do it.
Depending on how they do it. I mean, they could do it as a new story with the son of Snake Plissken and do okay.
I want to interrupt that thought for just a second and tell you how you're wrong, and it's the show Willow. It's proved that the weird charm of the old days can be replicated.
So, Lurch, I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm saying that that is going to be really hard with the type of movie that Escape from New York was, and the very specific plot line and themes that went into it during the time.
Not only
that, you can't replicate it.
But Willow is fantasy, and Escape from New York is more sci-fi post-apocalypse kind of, almost not quite post-apocalypse, but dystopian a little bit. And,
there was like an '80s sphere that was like heavily leaned into.
yeah.
That was like permeating the entire thing, and
So I totally
you know
see
that,
where
that
Angel
energy.
is coming from.
Sorry, go on.
I totally see where you're coming from, Angel. I understand what you're
Yeah.
talking about too, because the Willow TV series is amazing, and we're going to talk about it this week. We are going to talk about it this week, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're apples and oranges. Escape from New York and Willow are two completely different properties.
No,
Yeah.
they're different properties, but the point is they both had a certain '80s era charm to them that Willow has proved can be done in the
Oh,
modern day.
oh, well, so
I
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I
Uh,
haven't seen that one.
but it had a lot of the charm of the 1980s movie. But then
Yeah.
it helped that Ivan Reitman's son, who grew up on the set of Ghostbusters, was the person in charge of Ghostbusters Afterlife. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're going to get off of my general update and go
Yeah.
into some
We
of,
haven't even made it to our first subject, and we're half an
yeah,
hour in.
yeah, well, that's actually not bad since we spent 10 minutes on how our week was. So
Yeah.
we only spend another 20
yeah,
minutes on mine. So
mine was like a minute tops.
yeah, you didn't take that long at all. We're going to talk on a few things Dungeons and Dragons with Angel. He's going to try to go through them kind of quick because
Sure.
we still have some more stuff of the game awards from last week. We stopped partway through, so we're going to catch back up to that
Yeah.
later.
What's
So
the first one I listed?
the first one I have is the Open D&D trend on Twitter.
Right. In like internally, it seems that Wizards of the Coast, or Hasbro specifically, has been there's been a lot of people who are like, we don't trust you in keeping the open game license going, and for D&D. And so what Wizards of the Coast has been doing has been inviting these large, very loud people on YouTube, critics, to come to their set, but they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, effectively sealing their mouth from talking about one D&D anymore. And it's kind of like
You're starting to sound underwater there. Give us a second. Are you still there? I think he froze up.
part of the dungeon.
Okay, we lost most of
Can you
it.
hear me?
Now we can
Yeah,
hear you.
a little bit.
Are you
Oh,
talking?
how much is that? What last thing you heard?
Did you understand that, Lurch?
I'm sorry.
No. All I'm hearing is "I'm sorry" every 10 seconds.
Yeah, I heard that last time. Sorry.
Can you,
Give me a check
can
one.
you hear me now? One, two, one, two.
No, that was mostly garbled. You must be in a bad area. Let's do this.
Swing back around.
Whoa, yeah, we'll swing back around to you. Let's go and touch on some of the game awards. See, where did we leave off last on the game awards?
We were about halfway down the list, and the last thing, or the next item was Gearbox announces Remnant 2.
Gearbox announces Remnant 2.
Yeah. So, Gearbox Publishing and developer Gunfire Games announced a new looter shooter game called Remnant 2. I'm not familiar with Remnant 1, but watching the trailer, it kind of reminds me of Destiny, but only in a more dark fantasy, urban kind of environment. I think you're getting pretty close.
Yeah, here it is. Oh, speaking of some of the stuff you talked about last week, you know that the Warhammer 40K movie that's being worked on is Henry Cavill's attached to it?
Yeah, that's the only reason that I have a slight interest in it is Henry Cavill, and that's still pretty slight because I have no interest in Warhammer.
Yeah, I'm not a big Warhammer 40K
I
person, but
I have less than zero interest in Warhammer. Henry Cavill being attached makes it like I have a 2% interest in it because Henry Cavill's working on it.
anyway,
So
Gearbox
uh,
announced Remnant 2.
if it comes out and it has a lot of praise and everything, then I might, give the first couple episodes a try on if it's on a streaming service I hadn't subscribed to already. Otherwise, the next 5 years of Cavill's career probably don't mean anything to me anymore. Um, like, anyway, so yeah, this game looks kind of cool. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be in it or be playing it. It's a 3-player cooperative game. But like these looter shooters kind of grow a little bit stale on me. But it does have a much cooler setting than the Destiny games do to me. I like the more like relic-y kind of stuff rather than the sci-fi stuff in general.
A looter shooter is what Borderlands is.
Yeah.
Not what Destiny is.
Destiny's a looter shooter as well. Yeah. It's still a looter shooter.
I mean, like people drop stuff, but that's not like the looter shooter genre. I don't think.
You shoot a bunch of people, and then you collect loot of different rarities, and then you throw most of that loot away, or churn it into materials to upgrade other loot. I mean, I'm pretty sure even on the box it was called a looter shooter.
I don't know. I've not played that.
Like,
I didn't know it to be a looter shooter.
I mean, basically the things I don't like about Destiny are the things I don't like about Borderlands. Like, I don't like them for the same reasons. Like, they're okay.
I mean, you don't upgrade or like collect anything. The thing that Destiny and Warframe really had in common was they dropped stuff, but it wasn't like you grabbed them and could do anything. You used them to build stuff, and like Borderlands, you don't build anything. Grab the gun as is.
Okay. So,
it's the building that I like, though. That's why I like 7 Days to Die.
Anyway, Blue Protocol is being released in North America, published by Amazon Games, which is interesting. Which they seem to be getting involved with a few things these days lately.
Everybody's got to diversify now just to make anything work.
So this game looks pretty cool. They describe it as an anime come to life. It's an anime-inspired MMORPG. It has 5 different classes.
The artwork looks anime.
So the 5 classes are Blade Warden, Twin Striker, Keen Strider, Spellweaver, and Bowbreaker. Spellweaver, if I were to play this, would be the class I would play as. I would straight up say MMORPG, not my thing. But after 300 hours, which I know is not much for most MMORPGs, but after 300 hours of Final Fantasy 14 and just absolutely loving that game, my opinion on MMORPGs is lightened up. So, maybe this looks neat. I mean, definitely, and it's a very anime-ass video game.
Yes, the artwork looks anime for sure.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The art looks anime. The action sequences and combat look like it comes out of a Naruto episode. It's like, God, when I was watching the trailer, I had in mind like a hybrid between. Visually, from what I saw in the trailer, it kind of reminded me of like a hybrid between Naruto and Xenoblade Chronicles. But I don't know Xenoblade Chronicles to know how accurate that is a comparison. Plus, I only know this trailer, so. But like an MMO of that in anime form. It looks cool. And then they got this new platformer called After Us that was revealed by Private Division, being developed by Piccolo Studio. It's a game that takes place post-human on Earth, where players play as Gaia, the spirit of life, and you're trying to salvage the souls of extinct animals and revive them after learning their fates.
Okay.
This seems like a really neat like weekend game or whatever to play. An indie game that has kind of a similar. It's kind of the reverse of Shadow of the Colossus, where instead of trying to slay these 12 giant tree creatures and take their souls, you're trying to find the souls of like giant foxes and stuff, and uh,
Revitalize
salvage
them.
them. So, but yeah, it's got a beautiful art style and stuff like that. Looks pretty neat. Replaced is a new game that was announced called that is a retro futuristic platformer.
And it got trailer.
I will probably pass this one up, but I think Angel would probably dig this.
I would, yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah. You'll have to look it up. Look up the actual trailer. I think I was watching a trailer. I was like, this looks like an Angel-ass game.
We all have our favorites. Like, I'm the big MMORPG person, and Angel likes a lot of this sci-fi heavy shooter stuff. And
if it looks like it came out of what the 1950s thought would be the future, I'm all over it.
Yeah, and they said that it's a dark, alternate 1980s America that will take players to a trailer park, a rundown city, a lab, and more. It's got like these like red computer screens with like orange text or whatever. Yeah, it looks like what the 60s and 70s thought the future is going to look like.
I
That's
swear,
pretty fucking bad.
Angel should play Risk or Shadowrun because those are totally in his ballpark for MMO. I mean, for RPGs. Because I mean, if you ever watch Johnny Mnemonic, that's Shadowrun the movie.
Yeah. So you're going through like what each of us are really big on. My big thing is very cinematic first person games, or not first person, single player games, like cinematic story driven single player games is my like main strength game. I mean,
I like MMOs and action RPGs and stuff like
the actual gameplay mechanics. I vary between whether I like first person shooters, third person action adventure, whatever stealth stuff. My big thing is cinematic story.
Go ahead now.
Gosh, I am so eclectic for like when we're talking about just general video game genres. I am so fucking eclectic. I am all over the place. I'll play anything that looks
I mostly play MMORPGs, but I like a couple of fighting games, but I haven't played them in a while. And I like action stuff like Jack and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot and that kind of stuff. I love those kind of side-scroller action things and the new 3D versions of the old side-scrollers. I love that kind of stuff. Or I like puzzle games like Myst. I eat stuff like Myst up for breakfast. I mean, that's great. But then I eat Myst in like three hours.
I guess for me, I like a wide range of gameplay styles. The big thing is for me is I want an interesting story that makes me care about the adventure I'm on.
That's how I am with my MMOs. That's why I like the story. I like a good story and good game progression. If it's got a good story, good game progression, it can have crappy graphics and I'll still be playing it because it's got to have that story in the game. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, so the next announcement that we have listed here is Vampire Survivors, which is a game that already exists, but now it's available on mobile games, iOS and Android devices. It looks like a twin-stick shooter where you're like, I don't know if you are a vampire or if you're fighting against vampires. The trailer is pretty funny. Like, it's like, we're now on mobile, which means you can play it for free. Please be excited.
Whenever I hear twin-stick shooter, I used to think of the old cabinet game Robotron, because it literally had two joysticks and you went around.
Yeah.
It was a twin-stick, a literal twin-stick shooter.
Well, I mean, that's the definition of twin-stick shooters, is you play, one analog stick moves you around, the other analog stick shoots around you.
Yeah.
Controls where you shoot.
And Robotron was the original... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's what that is, what you're saying it is. Yeah, they're both
Yeah.
twin sticks.
And that was the original cabinet game before a lot of these home games came out. Because Robotron was a cabinet game that just had two joysticks, and you did that.
Yeah.
And,
So I don't know if that's how Vampire Survivors controls. Just from the little bit of gameplay that I saw in the preview, it looks like that's the kind of controls you would expect, except for it's on mobile. So looks like they've got a touch screen way of making it work now.
well,
But
What kind of so does it look like modern day or like the olden time?
what's that?
Does it look modern day or ye olden time?
Oh, I mean, new-ish, but it does look a little bit kind of a retro style, I guess. From what I can recall from the trailer, anyway. It's apparently a popular game. Apparently, it's popular on like Xbox and stuff.
well, there are a
And
lot of mobile games that use the virtual joysticks on both sides.
yeah,
And stuff. So that could be done exactly like you said on a mobile platform because they got the much bigger cell phones now and tablets that people
yeah,
play the mobile games on.
yeah,
They got room to do that. Like
yeah.
for instance, Albion uses a virtual joypad like that in their mobile version when you play Albion.
Okay, so our next game.
Hold on. I'm gonna interrupt you just because I know it was making you upset. I was gonna say I could just see your hat floating off your head with steam, bro. Sorry. Go on.
So we're not gonna talk about Willow this week, I don't think. Next game, Dead Cells, is getting some DLC based on Castlevania, coming out next year. With over 50 original and reimagined Castlevania musical tracks as well. First quarter of the year, there's going to be new enemies, 14 weapons, 2 biomes, and a new storyline, 3 bosses, and 20 outfits.
No?
I don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot to say about this. Or I haven't had a lot to say about a lot of games. But Lurch, you recently learned why I love Castlevania. Doesn't that look awesome?
Yeah,
Oh,
it does look good.
Castlevania, the anime on Netflix is good too, and
It is, yeah.
yeah,
It's canon.
and my favorite anime of all time is Vampire Hunter D, and so vampire animes are something I love, and Castlevania kind of feels kind of in that spirit sometimes too, and then
So our next game was Valiant Hearts, which I actually can't remember much about it, but Valiant Hearts Coming Home is coming to mobile devices. It's got like it's a World War I epic sequel to the game Valiant Hearts: The Great War, and it's coming to mobile via Netflix apparently. Like
yeah,
at least Netflix is publishing it.
It has a game section, so
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, Netflix. Yep, that makes sense.
yeah, they've got the game section now, and more games are getting produced for like Netflix and for mobile and stuff like that. It's
So
in some ways
I'm skipping over a couple of games because I honestly don't remember what they were. And if I don't remember what they were, I'm guessing they didn't make much of an impression on me. But the next thing that did make an impression on me was, and we're boycotting this game because of the Activision Blizzard, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 now has raids. They have their first raid of the whole freaking franchise. And I want to play that raid, but I'm boycotting the company.
Yeah,
Xbox
just a
needs to
reminder.
finish buying this company so I can play this raid.
Hold strong, Lurch. I recently learned the value. Hold strong.
Yeah. Just as a reminder to our listeners, we here at Game Time, in mass, have boycotted Activision Blizzard until they change their ways and change their upper management structures. They've got too many accusations of misogynistic and abusive behavior.
There's just all kinds of problems. We can move past that.
Yeah.
Next thing, this one is a Fire Emblem Engage DLC trailer, which I've not played a Fire Emblem game, but I know you like them. I've bought a couple of them
They're
to
very
try them out, and I never got around to playing them. They look good. The Fire Emblem games, like Three Houses, looks fantastic, but I haven't gotten around to playing it.
But I've not played in them either. But they look really good.
Yeah, they look good. And so, I watched this trailer, but I have like no context of what's going on, so I can't get too hype about it.
I love the art style, but it's very anime.
Yeah.
It's very well, I want to say almost like classic Robotech kind of anime. More realistic, less like ultra stylized.
Yeah. The next announcement we got was a in-engine trailer for the video game Dune Awakening. Which, funny thing about that, when the trailer started, when I was watching it on the Game Awards, before we had any titles or anything, we just kind of like saw sand and some stuff, and I was like, huh, this kind of makes me think of Dune. And then Dune comes on the screen.
What, you kidding?
And it really says something because my only experience with Dune is the new movie. That's the only thing I know of Dune is the new movie.
I literally do not know the hype.
When you see masses of sand in movie settings, you think Dune or like Tatooine. Those are the two places to think of.
But for some reason, it didn't scream Tatooine to me. It was Dune.
Well, it's like Beetlejuice, the movie. Way back when I watched Beetlejuice, and I saw all that sand, the first thing I thought of was Dune. And then they had the sandworms in Beetlejuice, even though they were much more stylized. It still made me think of Dune.
It's so funny. You think of Dune whenever you see sandworms. I think of Tremors.
Tremors? Yeah.
Oh, I love Tremors. I love that series of movies.
Oh, when I watched the Dune movie, I was thinking of Tremors.
Graboids rule.
Okay, so our next announcement was a gameplay trailer for Destiny 2 Lightfall, which, for a guy who dropped off of Destiny before it had a 2 at the end of it, I have to say, this looks really damn fun. It's got, like, this trailer had me going, maybe I should give it another chance.
Getting a call. Oh, no, they hung up.
Yay! People hanging up.
I still have to leave because they fucked up my audio.
Oh, no.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem.
And I was looking forward to seeing his reaction to this next title.
Among
the
Us.
Next title is Among Us Hide and Seek, which is this new mode. Huh?
Almost Invader Zim-like animation.
Yeah. Have you ever played Among Us or know anything about Among Us?
No.
Okay. So, Among Us traditionally is a game where one or two players is secretly a monster on a space station. Oh. And all the players have to go around the space station and complete tasks, and the monsters secretly try to kill people without getting caught. And then when someone finds the body, they report it, and then when they do a report, everyone shows up in like a central, communal room together where they're locked in, and they have to vote on who they think is the killer. It's like Werewolf the video game.
Or Werewolf the card game, or Secret Hitler, or...
Yes, yeah, it's like that too. I was trying not to say the H word. So, yeah, it's like that kind of game, but a video game on a space station, and it's funny, I haven't played the real Among Us. I've only played VR Among Us, but not the official VR Among Us. It was like a homebrew VR Among Us in the Quest 2, one of those games, VR chat. But it was a ton of fun, and this new version, though, is called Hide and Seek, where instead of it being in secret, it's like a game of hide and seek where you know who the monster is. They look kind of monstrous, and then everyone, they have to wait. It seems like they have to wait in the central area while everyone else gets to run out and hide someplace. And then that monster player, runs around and chases them down.
But they don't know. They don't know it's the monster, so they're always pretending to do the.
So you missed out me explaining the base game. I'm now on to the new mode.
Oh,
So,
gotcha. What's going on?
So in the new mode that they just revealed at the Game Awards, it's called Hide and Seek. And like Hide and Seek, everyone knows who's it. You know who the monster is. And from the looks of it, the monster stays in the central area or whatever, while all the other players get to run around, scatter about, and hide around the ship.
That's great.
And they know who the monster is. There seems to be some sort of a sensor to let you know if the monster's getting close, or maybe it's for the monster to censor people are. I don't remember which it is. But they're still trying to complete tasks and survive and run away from the monster. And in this version, the players are able to go into the vents to try to flee from the monster. Yeah.
That's pretty fucking great.
And so what I mentioned, and you missed maybe, Angel, was it looks very Invader Zim animation.
Yeah, which I don't think I ever realized that, but now that you say it, I can't unsee it.
Yeah, it's absolutely there.
Which is great, because I loved Invader Zim.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually
it's a very
Huh?
It's a very Newgrounds kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I loved Newgrounds when I was younger. I watched a bunch of Newgrounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just telling, whenever you cut off, I was like, and I was wanting to see his reaction to this news of this new mode for Among Us. I was wanting to see his reaction to this next announcement.
Yeah.
The next thing we got to see was a gameplay trailer for Horizon Call of the Mountain, and it looks beautiful. It's a VR game. It's graphically, it looks like it's the best VR game ever made.
Well, you've been liking all the Horizons, haven't you?
Yeah, I love the Horizon games. There's been 2 of them so far, and I've platinumed them both. I love them. They're fantastic games. I was really late to the first game. I didn't play the first game till after it was out for a couple of years or so.
I begged him for years to play it.
Yeah. And then when I finally played it, I was like, "Oh, this is a beautiful game."
Yeah,
and so when the sequel came out,
about it afterwards.
So when the sequel came out, I started it like 2 hours before it officially released, I think. Like, I was right on that game. I even got like a giant statue thing that's like 2 feet tall of a giant.
Okay, can I talk about how jealous I am of that for 2 reasons? The first reason was I'm really upset because I love Horizon and everything about Horizon, so I was really upset I didn't get it. The second reason was the reason why I didn't get it is because I was buying a house and any large purchases would have scared the loan people away.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend a lot of money, or I would have gotten a fucking figure.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I think the next thing I'm getting that has a giant figure is Final Fantasy 16. I paid like $360 for the collector's edition of that. It's got like this huge statue of like Ifrit fighting.
Hey, nerds are partly collectors. That's one of the things nerds do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so here's something funny. While watching this Call of the Mountain trailer, Allie started off going, "Oh, this looks great. When is this coming out?" And then after a few more seconds, she saw something VR related. She's like, "Wait, is this only in VR?" Yeah. "Oh, I won't be able to play it because she can't do VR games." What's that?
Is it eyesight or is it like vertigo?
It's neither of those. It's because of she has a spine problem in her neck and she can't handle the weight of the headset on her head.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And hey, that's the bottom of the list. We made it.
The bottom of the list. We made it through.
We made it.
And it's only just now 9 o'clock.
Someone tell the mayor. We made it.
But
we made it to the Horizon, guys.
The Horizon is over with. Now we're going to go back to Dungeons and Dragons and Angel. So anyway, you were talking about NDAs and Twitter people and Twitch people and stuff. So get back to that.
Yeah. So they force people on YouTube and Twitch who are very, very much against their practices. They forced them to. They invited them over to talk about what the policies are going to be behind closed doors. but they have to sign an NDA, and that would effectively silence them to say anything against 1D&D.
What was
and
the
their
point
policy.
then?
The point would have been to silence them from being upset about the OGL, like the game license.
Yeah.
Because they're upset that because they're like, we don't believe that you're gonna do right by third-party developers who want to make homebrew content for this game. And so the idea is Wizards of the Coast is going to switch the OGL to specifically only allow people on the Dungeon Masters Guild and or go directly through their D&D Beyond website. And that's the only way you can sell third-party content is what they're thinking. And so people have been, a lot of big names have been saying that this is bullshit. And so because of that, the idea is Wizards of the Coast has been sending out invitations. Let's talk about it, but you can't talk about it after you leave this room. And it's like it effectively silences very loud voices, and no one's going for it. And so yeah, no one's going for it. No one's accepting these. Except for like the smaller time people, and even they are saying we're not happy. And it's just it's kind of a mess. And I was talking about Lurch. Last week we had this conversation of like I don't like what Wizards of the Coast is doing. But then I talked to Lurch and I was like, I already bought my physical books, right? I have access to my physical books. I have most of the books. I have no reason to ever move to 1D&D. Like if I don't like what they're doing with 1D&D, I'll just stick to 5e.
Well, and that's what people of other editions have always done. Is if they didn't like the new edition, they just stuck with the one they liked.
Yeah. So I'm less angry about it, and more just a disappointed parent. Just like I'm disappointed in you.
Okay. Well, all that has to happen is enough people to not buy into the bad stuff that, that's why, like, my understanding, I don't know if this is the case, my understanding is that, in general, people really hated 4th edition, and so they moved on from it pretty quickly and adopted 5th edition, fixing the things that people hated about 4th edition.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
that was I want to say a different time as well. Because, one, Hasbro wasn't heavily scrutinizing Wizards of the Coast. And two, the disease impacted us all.
Well,
you've got all of these different new factors going into, and also Critical Role wasn't that big.
Yeah.
So Critical Role went from Pathfinder to 5e.
No, Critical Role went from Pathfinder to 4e.
I mean, 4e. I'm sorry. But they quickly went away from 4e. They didn't link.
Then 4e to 5e. Yeah. But
yeah. But like the biggest names or whatever, there was a reason why 4e didn't survive. And, I don't think that that's going to happen here.
But financially, 4E was not the failure that everybody thought it was. It was a failure according to Hasbro's expectations, just like 3E was. Because 4E is still going strong in some countries, in fact.
That is actually kind of my point, is that a terrible system is still doing well. And that's why I think that they're going to lean into 1D&D.
4E was actually a great system. It's just that it was different than what people expected, and nerds hate this as much as they ask for.
From my understanding, they led really heavily into you didn't start out as a nobody, you started out as kind of like a legendary hero in the character creation. Which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing, but I think it that wasn't the expectation people went in with it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, hold on. I would like to move 4E. I do believe I made.
We'll move forward past it, but this is one of my favorite editions, so I do need to comment a couple times. First off, you didn't start epic in 4th edition, but you did start with more options in 4th edition and a little bit more hit points because people were tired of the first level characters dying before they got to do anything. And so that was a direct response to player feedback. Anyway, we're going to move on, though, because I know we don't want to argue about edition wars. And move on to your next D&D topic, which is, let's see, cancel. Getting rid of the word race and character creation.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. They're moving away from race. They're removing it out of the books and replacing it with species, which I will say I don't not like.
I actually like that.
I don't not like it, as in I don't think it's a bad thing. My only gripe on it, and it is such a small gripe, my only gripe on it would be species sounds so sci-fi when this is like very evil.
That's why a lot of people, because you use species in sci-fi games, but they use race in fantasy games traditionally.
I saw someone, a podcaster maybe, or just an article recently of someone complaining about the use of the word species, and they had an issue with it for some reason. Like it, I don't remember what it was exactly, but they felt like it was not the right word choice.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's the technically right term, but
yeah.
I was just saying to Lurch. I was to the whole group last session. It's like eating pork meat. Now, like with the change to species, now it doesn't feel like you are cannibal. Because we're so used to saying the human race, but that's not really what we are.
Yeah, I mean, race, it's a silly term.
Yeah, so they're moving away from it because they don't want to have the word race, which is the root word of racist. And that is quite literally the reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, trying to get away from racial stereotypes. Yeah.
I really don't mind them doing that. It just feels like that is a weird choice of a specific word that you could use. When I feel like there's other words you could use that commonly people would. Because okay, if you're in D&D and if you are in the Forgotten Realms and you're walking around and there's an orc and the orc is wandering around look, there's so many races. A orc's not gonna say, oh, look at all these species. That's not gonna fucking happen. I'm still gonna say as an orc, look at these races. Because that's the verbiage that they would have used.
Right.
So ultimately, it's like I said before with 1D&D, if you don't like it, don't fucking use it. Like, you can still use race it doesn't matter.
But putting it in the character creation level is showing a level of proactive sensitivity towards anti-racial profiling.
Sure. Here's what I honestly think, and I might be a little cynical. I honestly think that this is not necessarily a PR move so much as it is a let's avoid bad PR move. So I don't think they're trying to gain good PR. They're trying to avoid bad PR with this.
Right.
And honestly, even if that's the intention, the net positive is they are being more conscious about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm praising.
So I'm trying to think about what the opposition to it was, and I think it has something to do with the fact that, like the difference between, say, like a Dragonborn, chromatic Dragonborn, and metallic Dragonborn, and a gem Dragonborn. It's like a difference of race, but a Dragonborn is a different species than an elf. But
Correct.
All elves are the same species, but of the elves, there's different races, like the wood elf,
in a lot of ways,
drow.
Instead of getting rid of race, they would have to go between species and then within a species, you have almost the best term would be ethnicity.
Yeah.
Or
And so, like,
subspecies.
this person's argument, I don't remember what word they said for sure. I think it was something like your heritage or something, or
your lineage. That's what it was. I saw the same one you did.
Okay.
Lineage.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And
so yeah, what's your lineage? And that is more all-encompassing. And I was like, that makes sense.
I agreed with that. Oh yeah.
In a lot of ways, that's nature versus nurture right there. I mean, your natural species is your species, but then how you were brought up, what part of the world you're brought up in and stuff would be more your ethnic or lineage.
They're both kind of nature, but
yeah.
I mean, like culture would be nurture.
So like lineage would be all-encompassing, I guess, of race and species, both. Because the two words do have slightly different meanings, and neither one is completely correct to refer to all the different options of creatures that are playable or whatever, even. And so, I can definitely see using lineage, at least for the player characters.
Used ancestry.
I mean, if we're being honest, my example is a little shallow. The work would likely say, look at all of these meat sacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it points out in the article that, Pathfinder 2nd edition switched to the word ancestry, and Warhammer
that's a decent one too.
But ancestry is a good one. Lineage and ancestry mean about the same thing.
Elven ancestry. Yeah, Dragonborn ancestry. That
works really good.
And it also works with chromatic Dragonborn ancestry and gemstone chromatic or gemstone
dragon
ancestry. So that's kind of like where I'm getting at. Is just like I think this is a good step forward, but I don't want anyone to give I like Wizards of the Coast for bringing us as much of D&D as they have, but they are a corporation. So let's give them praise for moving forward with it, but it's literally the least they could do.
And apparently, I heard that they met with culturalists and stuff like that, experts to help them decide what word to use. So it seems weird that was the word they settled on if they actually hired. It almost sounds like, I think the video I even watched said, I think they just hired some kid out of college who just got his cultures degree and was like, here's $10,000 to agree with us that we're going to use species. We hired an expert.
Well, my understanding from them hiring is from now on, whenever they write a book, they'll have a culturalist look at the book.
Yeah.
And determine if something's problematic.
They may have also avoided using the term ancestry because one of their chief competitors did, being Pathfinder. And they didn't want to be said to have copied them.
Yeah, but that's the same Deadpool, Deathstroke, and then a Red Tool. You guys copy each other back and forth so much. People expect it. You're fine.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of times they do things to try to avoid being accused of it.
Well, that's that. What's the other one, if you don't mind?
What's worse being accused of? Stealing a word or racism?
That's true.
I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's if you zoom out and look
some people say that plagiarism is the worst possible thing you could do.
But it's not about the stealing of the word that they would be avoiding here. That's the thing. From a selfish standpoint, they don't want to give legitimacy to the game that came after them, which is Pathfinder. And if they steal from Pathfinder, Pathfinder could say, hey, look, D&D's stealing from us now. Which is why they try not to do that.
I don't think I'm going to be honest with you. D&D and Pathfinder probably share thousands of words in their books together.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Pathfinder came from D&D, It's just that
No, I mean, I know that. I mean,
the other way.
I mean how meaningless it is. How many times have both of them used the word "the"?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And,
it's like
and wizard and
yeah, it's meaningless to say that D&D refuses. Such a huge corporation is like, we don't want to use the word ancestry because Pathfinder did. It's kind of like small beans because all it is identifying a group. Like, that's all it is an identifier.
yeah. Anyway, I think.
Yeah, what's the next one on the docket?
He's from the Golden Vault.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we have an accidental leak, if Amazon is to be trusted, which is the Golden Keys from the Vault is a new book. I believe it's an anthology series coming out from for D&D 5e. And that should be coming out February 21st of next year. So in 2 months-ish. So that's pretty fucking exciting. We get a new book so fucking soon. And that's the one thing I really do like about 5e is, like, there is pretty consistent books coming out, but it doesn't feel like it's happening so fast that we're getting overwhelmed.
Well, in 3rd edition, they were trying to put out a book, a core book, like every quarter, and a setting book in addition to that, and then stuff, so that they almost had something coming out as much as 2 or 3 books a month. And that was from Wizard, not counting third party. In 4th edition, they slowed it down a little bit to about 1 a quarter. And then in 5th edition, they've gone to 1 every 2 to 3 months. And then the rest, they worry about coming out with other supplements, stuff like miniatures and things like that.
Yeah, and I think 5e has probably one of the strongest homebrew communities of the editions, in my humble opinion. So I don't feel like anyone is like hurting for content. But yeah, so that's exciting. Be on the lookout for that. I am gonna buy it. I recently bought the new Dragonlance book, which I actually do love. I got the special cover for it, so I might just continue doing that going forward. Just buy the special cover. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. Next up, and the last one on the D&D topics, is the one about Hasbro, makers of Dungeons & Dragons in trouble. Downgraded to a cell.
Yeah. So this one is, I don't know what kind of topic this is going to qualify under, but it's if you care about business or like trends in business, Hasbro in general, the parent company of Magic the Gathering and of WotC in general. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. So it has, because of their handling and fumbling of Magic, it is now no longer considered a favorable buy in terms of stocks. So now they've labeled it as a sell. Everybody, or at the Bank of America has labeled it as a sell, which is really bad news. That's how a bank or a company, especially one as big as Hasbro, can become bankrupt. Like, if everybody sells, the company becomes worth nothing. They have to sell off their properties or liquidate to everything, which actually might be why Hasbro is tightening the leash on their D&D products.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't making a lot of money, but we need it to make a lot of money.
there's a handful of prospective financial analysts that they give a buy, sell, or hold recommendation on stock every quarter through the Nasdaq and
Yep.
the New York Stock Exchange, and Bank of America is one of the big ones. And if they're saying sell, it can hurt.
If you feel like Hasbro has the capabilities to weather this, right now is a really wait for it to level out on the sale and purchase stocks. Right now is the best time to fucking do it for cheap.
Now's a good time to buy Hasbro stocks.
I mean, no. Whenever it goes low, if you're willing to gamble, and I specifically said, if you feel like Hasbro can weather this and bounce back, it might be a good time to buy stocks now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't
wait till they have an upturn again.
I'm just stating that stocks might be worth considerably less than.
Yeah.
I am not saying buy them, but if you wanted to, they're there for you.
You wouldn't buy them now. What you would do is wait, because inevitably there's going to be at least some downturn. Now,
there's going to be.
Watch the downturn, and as soon as the downturn starts to go up again, if you decide that they can weather it, then you buy. But you have to wait till it gets in that valley. Once it gets to the valley and it starts to go up again, you might be able to get in on a recovery, but it may not recover.
Yep, it's Hasbro. This might be the end of a giant. Their mishandling of Magic was ridiculous, and the way that they tried to catch themselves from falling was ridiculous, and they're just being ridiculous. And I am sad for Wizards of the Coast because I 100% believe that Hasbro had their sticky, fat fucking fingers in all of this.
So I'm not going to buy, I am not good with stocks, so never take my advice on stocks. I just looked up my stocks, and I'm currently down 24.57%.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yep. I've done nothing but lose in the stock market.
Last I checked, which was an unfortunate week ago, I'm only up 14%.
Oh, actually, I did get 1 penny from Sony on dividends recently. Yay!
Yay!
I've lost a lot more than that penny, though, and in the values of my stocks.
Historically, I've always been good at picking stocks, but since I never actually spend money on them, that could be part of it.
Oh, yeah, you gotta do that, Doc. Come on, we talked about this.
I don't have any
you got to spend money. If it wasn't going to be the end or a potential change in D&D, an unknown change, I would be like, yay, to this giant that has been nothing but an asshole to people. But there's properties underneath it that I like, and for that I'm sad.
Of course, then again, when a company like that starts to go under, one of the things they end up doing is selling off those IPs to other companies that might treat them better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there's an unknown. That's exactly why I said there's an unknown.
Yeah.
It's when you start selling off your assets like that, you just don't know. That happened to a company I worked for. I worked for a company called Medical Logistics Solutions, and they were sold to a company who sold them to another company every time that I was working under them, and they were sold to another company. The shit that I had, my 401k, all of that stuff, was being destroyed, and little by little. Vacation time gone, they can't afford it anymore. 401k gone, they can't afford it anymore. Health insurance no longer supported. Every time until they completely liquidated the company out from under me. So I know what selling off assets looks like, and it looks horrible.
Yeah, but there are certain companies out there that would love to get their hands on the Dungeons and Dragons IP specifically.
I feel like you would have to have someone who understands the value because we're talking about fat cats like in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who's never even looked at a Dungeons and Dragons board game, let alone know it's what its worth is to millions of people. All they see is fat dollar signs in their eyes, thinking what
Well,
they can do to dismantle and sell the
well,
product.
but one of the things right now that D&D's got going for it right now is there's such a big following of D&D in the celebrity community, and a lot of celebrities are investing in other companies now. So, like for instance, Matthew Lillard runs Beatles and Grimm, who just make luxury items for Dungeons and Dragons, luxury sets. If Beatles and Grimm decided, hey, let's make an offer on D&D to Hasbro to help bail them out, that might be a good company to take over for D&D because
I really,
Matthew Lillard actually has a respect for the game.
I I really hope that at that point that's just like one.
You were
Chances
underwater
are
on
the
that.
biggest bidder is going to get the product. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Chances are the biggest bidder would be the one to get it. And the thing is, there's a couple of companies that are more than likely to be the ones that would be the front runners. Paizo might try to get Dungeons and Dragons because, of course, Pathfinder came from Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, Beatles and Grimm might attempt it. Someone like John Manganiello might try to buy them out because they've got sufficient funds to do it and they're that passionate about the game system.
How
Or
much do you think Dungeons and Dragons is worth? Like 500 million, 1 billion, like 50 million? Like what kind of like insane number are we talking about that
it's
would be
actually
worth
not
the
going to be
biggest like
super insane right now, but there are a few companies that could probably foot the bill.
well, I was about to say, like, it's not worth a lot, I'm sure. And Lurch, can you actually look that up? How much is Dungeons and Dragons, the property worth? Because I'm willing to guarantee it's under 50 million. Because like they're already not making as much money as they want to from something as big as this is, and so it must not be pulling in a lot of money.
Estimated value.
I'm
Like
looking.
I'd want it to have a safety net. I don't think that's a guarantee. I think that this might be the 5e might be the last good edition of Dungeons and Dragons we ever get.
So cards.
Good cards.
Yeah.
Do they have Dungeons and Dragons cards?
Apparently, there was an article that was like, "How much are these Dungeons and Dragons cards worth?" I found one number, but that does not seem right.
What is it?
188,000.
No, that sounds actually like a good
Yeah.
number. 180,000? No,
Yeah.
I thought it was million. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I do not believe that Dungeons and Dragons expands beyond 50 million. I mean, that is a personal. Because we're looking at it doesn't even make a portion of what Magic the Gathering does. The Magic the Gathering makes like I think like in between 50 to 100 million. So we're looking at less than that, probably considerably. But that's just a humble opinion. If we want to get Willow in, we're
I
gonna
think
have.
I think this number is just for their YouTube channel, because like I'm reading more details on it, and it's like saying that the YouTube channel makes 47,000 a year. But that's an estimate based on how many views each video gets throughout the year for that channel. So I don't know if there's like a public number.
I mean, we know from context clues it's less than Magic the Gathering, and so that's what I'm going personally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
but
a lot of articles about things by Dungeons and Dragons and how much they're worth. Here's how much these figures are worth. How much are the books worth? How much are the cards worth?
oh
Right?
well. But here's an option. Ask what the gross that Wizards of the Coast brought in from Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
They don't publish it.
Like the business wording might be a gross or profit either.
Apparently 2021 was their biggest year ever. The overall revenue for Wizards rose by 24% in 2020, topping 816 million. But that's not specifically just that's not specifically Dungeons and Dragons. That's Wizards of the Coast as a whole.
Sure. Yeah, they put out a lot of shit. They have a lot of like solid properties.
They don't share the specific sales total for the brand. So that's combining Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering in the one and whatever else they have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm feeling like
anything either specifically an estimate or anything, but it would be interesting to see because there's a few companies I think would come forward to attempt to buy it if it came on the market. Paizo's one, Beetle and Grimm, certain individual celebrities, Critical Role might try to actually take it, or Felicia Day might actually try to get it, but I don't know if they have the net worth to pull it off. But there's a few of them that might try to leverage it.
well, yeah, you not only have to think about like is there net worth equal, they also have to have like what liquid assets can you put up?
Right.
What like there's so much. It has to be a fraction of what they're worth for it to even be considered.
Jeez, Hasbro as a whole has got a year revenue in 2020 of $5.47 billion.
With as many Monopoly games as they sell, I expect it.
That's right. I went to a store the other night that had like 30 different versions of Monopoly on the wall. There was a Jumanji game, and I'm pretty sure next to it was a Jumanji themed Monopoly game.
You know what? It's really funny. Is we are one of those houses. My wife will buy like 5 different kinds of Monopoly if it has like stuff she likes. We have so much, and also I also got Mass Effect Monopoly game as well, and a Dragon Ball Z Monopoly game, and Nightmare Before Christmas, and I could go on. Hasbro makes bank just for the collector value.
And I used to be a competitive Monopoly player. I like Monopoly.
Oh, can't forget about the D&D video games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Dark Alliance.
Yeah.
Those are included in the value of Dungeons and Dragons.
I know a lot of things are going to be included when you go to buy that IP because it branches out into all
Wizards
things.
In 2020, Wizards of the Coast's operating profit was $420 million, with a 46% operating profit margin. How much of that $420 million is from Dungeons and Dragons, and how much is it from Magic the Gathering, and whatever else Wizards of the Coast is in charge of? I don't know, but
not to get off this tangent, but we're already at 9:34. We went, and I thought we were going to be done a lot quicker with the D&D, and we've still got Stargirl
I
and
tried to
Willow.
get
I
through them
know.
as fast as I
I
could.
know. We just have a tendency to go on tangents for some of this stuff because we're very passionate individuals. Uh,
Yeah.
but we're going to try, especially to get Stargirl out of the way, and then if we have time, Willow. But we are definitely going to do Stargirl because we just got the last 2 episodes to cover. So, I'm not doing From the Vault this week. I'm not doing a Kickstarter this week. We're going right into Stargirl. Stargirl has ended, and it is the series finale. Now, it was a 2-parter, so basically episode 12 and episode 13, which we had not covered yet. And episode 12 is the last will and testament of Pemberton. And
Yeah.
that was, Joel McHale's character, and he's Starman. But during this episode, he talks about how he's going to go kill Icicle all on his own. And the episode kind of starts with him browbeating down Pat, basically telling him he's a sidekick. He's never was nothing but a sidekick. He needs to, realize that that's what he is, and that he even distracted and caused the death of the JSA. And then he comes up and he talks immediately after that with Courtney, and Courtney basically tells him that no, I mean, I even thought you were my father at one point, and I was so much into you being my hero, but you know who my hero is? Pat Dugan. And then he leaves off. But what it actually turns out is
He also takes the staff with him.
and
He like forces it
Pat
from
chooses her
like
to come over her. Yeah.
Courtney's holding the staff, and the cosmic staff, and then Pemberton able to just kind of like magically yank it from her, making it fly to his own hands.
Yes.
Before he left.
Yeah, and then he leaves, and we get Pat going in to investigate some things, and he goes and talks to Zeke, and Zeke points out to Pat that maybe what Pemberton was doing was trying to scare him off so that to protect him, like he did with Mike and Jakeem in earlier episodes, by trying to get them not as involved. But it actually later on, when they go to touch bases with everybody else in the JSA current, they find out there's a lot of behavior that was kind of hinky from him. And some of this goes into episode 13 because it kind of spans the 2 episodes. But Pat does eventually come up and meet up with Starman, and ends up getting attacked by him. And we find out in episode 13 that it's because Starman is not actually Starman. Starman was dug up by Icicle and Dragon King and the Ultra Humanite. And Dragon King used his science to rejuvenate the body of Starman and the brain. Then they transferred the Ultra Humanite's brain into Starman's body to use Starman's popularity and goodwill to forward Icicle and the Injustice Society's plots. And the Ultra Humanite was now going to be Starman. And then Dragon King was going to be put into the Ultra Humanite's albino gorilla body, because he just wants a more powerful body, and that's just his thing. And we see some of that in the beginning of episode 13, the final episode.
So it's just an episode of musical chairs, musical bodies?
Well, the first of the 2-part episode, you don't find out about the musical bodies. And then in the second part, the first thing they do is say, 9 months ago. and they show them digging up Starman, and then rejuvenating the body and talking about putting the Ultra Humanite in his body, and then putting Dragon King into the Ultra Humanite's albino gorilla body. And so we find out in the beginning of episode 13 that all through this season, what we thought was Starman was never Starman at all. It was actually the Ultra Humanite in Starman's body. And he was trying to convince them to trust him so that Courtney would believe that he had more right to the cosmic staff than she did, so that the cosmic staff went to him because Courtney believed it. Not because the staff did, because it wasn't the staff that needed to be convinced, it was Courtney. And so that's why he was able to take the staff from her, is because she believed that it was more rightfully his than hers. And then in the final parts of the episode, she actually finally has to get it through her head that she deserves the staff. And it's Pat and her mother that actually finally kind of convince her that she deserves the staff. We also get a pretty good scene of her mother shooting the crossbow that what's-her-name had been teaching her how to shoot a few episodes back before she died. One of the ex-villains, Sportsmaster's girlfriend, had been teaching her how to use the hand crossbow because she wanted her to be able to defend herself. And she did in the final battle. The mom finally did shoot that hand crossbow at Icicle. So that was one of the good things in the thing. There was so much going on in these two episodes, though, because, of course, they were trying to round out the series as well as the season. I mean, we got a post, not exactly a post-credit, but a post-wrap-up scene that includes the Shade running a tour through, like, the JSA museum. And then somebody, like, I think it's Jay Garrick comes in, and
Yep.
Jay Garrick's Flash comes back using his speed time travel, comes back to get the Shade to come forward because the JSA is needed, and one of the members that is needed is the Shade. So we find out that the Shade eventually becomes part of the JSA too. We learn a few other things. What else has happened in this episode? Oh, one of the other kind of, not exactly post, but after the conclusion of the episode kind of thing, we do see Solomon Grundy's fist come up through the earth right in front of our man, Rick, as he's at the grave saying, everybody else got to come back to life, but why not you, buddy? And then, whoa, and there comes Solomon Grundy's fist up through the earth. So we kind of have a tease that Solomon Grundy is back. What other kind of wrap-ups were there? Oh, Courtney went to the daughter of the gambler and gave her the letter that the gambler had wrote for her and explained how he actually did love the daughter and had never abandoned her. He had not known about her and stuff, and once he found out, he, was dedicating himself to come, be worthy of being her father and stuff, and she got a big hug from the gambler's daughter because of that.
Yeah.
The big final battle, of course, had.
I was going to say something about these two episodes that kind of got to me a little bit was how eerie the Pemberton got when under the with the brain of the the Ultra Humanite, because he would he would like kind of have brief moments where he forgot that he's not actually Starman, but he was still very like scary, you know, like he was like talking. He was having a monologue while burying his, you know, what's supposed to be his best friend alive, and like loses track of time, and then he tries to ask a question, and he's like, "Oh, right," as it zooms out to reveal that the hole is filled at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been monologuing for this entire, you know, this whole time that he's been throwing dirt on this guy. He's like, I
Yeah.
forgot.
Ultra
Sometimes,
has maybe changed to one too many bodies because he's losing a little connection.
yeah, he's kind of losing, you know, his sanity over time, and he's just like,
Well, it's like when
I
he
forgot.
fight with Pat at the end, he actually is like, "You were supposed to be my best friend," and all that. It's like, no, you're not really Starman.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like at the very end, whenever he's fighting and whatever, and he's
You were my best friend, and he was, no, you're not Starman. I was Starman's best friend, not yours.
yeah. But yeah, he
That's
like has
almost
this.
sad.
What's that?
I said it's almost sad.
Yeah,
Almost.
it is kind of sad. And he's
and
like,
Pat
the way he
Dugan
just kind of
goes
like
with that,
trails off sometimes as he's talking, and you're like, for a moment, he's forgetting that he's not actually Starman.
It's great because when Courtney takes the staff back from him, Pat Dugan's like nods to Courtney, and then she goes and handles the other battle because it's like, you don't got the staff now, you're just a normal human, and they just go at it, frickin' fisticuffs.
Yeah, that's right. Like Pat's trying to fight him, and he's just instead of fighting him, he's just running away, trying to not get hurt as evil Starman keeps blasting shit at him. But then once Courtney gets it, he's like, "Oh, you're just a regular man now," and starts falling.
Yeah, and you don't expect that from Luke Wilson because Luke Wilson is not normally an actor that would do that. You know, you expect something like that almost more from Owen Wilson than Luke Wilson. But
yeah. But if it was Owen Wilson, you know he'd be cracking jokes along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luke Wilson just looks like he's kind of stoned while he's doing it.
Absolutely. It was an actual intense episode. And the thing is, they supposedly actually filmed two different endings. So it'll be interesting to see if we ever get a leak of that other ending that they filmed in case they finally got to continue the series.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see it, because they left enough cliffhangers at the end of this one that it looks like they still want to continue the series. Or spin it off.
Wait, wasn't that entirely because it wasn't expected to like halfway during the filming of the series of this season they were told this is going to be their last season?
That's why they filmed
my understanding is they were told before they finished writing the season, like while they were still early in writing of the season, they were told in advance. And it just didn't come to the public knowledge until halfway through the season.
They were told to write two endings, just in case. One that was supposed to wrap everything up, and one that was supposed to lead into the next season.
Although, while they did wrap up most things, they did still leave a couple of trails.
They did leave it looking like either we were going to get another season, or we were going to get like a JSA spin-off show, or an Infinity Inc. spin-off show, because they had left enough dangling for those two possibilities. And I'm
sure that part of the Stargirl crew is going to, at least, if not a lot of it, is going to show up in the final season of The Flash because of Jay Garrick showing up in the last scene and telling Shay that they need help. So from the JSA, so I imagine the JSA is going to show up in the Flash.
They've
series.
already all but guaranteed that Dreamer is going to be in the last season of the Flash. So we know we're going to get Dreamer in at least one episode. Although she's supposedly going to be teaming up with Iris, not Barry, in the episode she's in. from what I understand. So that's going to be an interesting thing too. The developments in season 9 of the Flash, because if anything, the Flash is the most important final season of the Arrowverse because it is really the final of the Arrowverse. Because Superman and Lois was shifted to another verse, and so any wrap-ups for all the other Arrowverse shows have to happen in the Flash, or not at all.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see. Is there anything we really majorly left? Oh, there was the final scene of the brain in the jar up on that mountain, which was Pemberton's actual brain saying, "Pat, where's Pat? Ah!" Because they had kept the body of Pemberton was alive, but Ultra Humanoid in that final battle had a brain bleed, so he was a vegetable. He was brain dead.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
they
so
were going to keep looking for Pemberton's brain just in case.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was one of the things I was thinking of, and I couldn't remember what it was well enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pemberton's body, a brain dead body, is still being kept alive in a coma-like state, or vegetable-like state, or whatever, hospital. And they're like, maybe one day we'll find the real Pemberton brain, and then it cuts to showing it up in the mountains somewhere, hooked to a speaker and some other equipment, and you can hear his last words being repeated over and over again. Which his last words were, "What did you do to Stripesy?"
Stripesy, Pat, where's Pat? Ah!
Yeah, where's Pat?
Yeah. And we had cameos in this one. We had the Shade, we had Dr. McNider, and we had Dave Gehrig as all cameos. And we did have a final cameo of Artemis because she wasn't in the whole episode, and then she shows up as an after credit, almost an after wrap-up scene in Amsterdam, where Icicle is walking down the street and then starts walking through this vicious substance. What is that? And she's like, it's like phosphorus, because it burns burn on even on water.
Yeah,
and then she tortures.
Yeah, I forget I don't remember if it was phosphorus or something else. But I remember she was describing it's a flammable mixture that will even burn water, and then she lights it and burns this guy to death. He just evaporates because he's made of ice.
Yeah, and there's really only a couple of things that'll burn on water. Thermite and phosphorus are about the two I can think of.
Yeah.
And
it might have been a hybrid of the two. It's also a superhero show, so it could also be a made-up chemical too.
Yeah.
But yeah, she explained that it'll even burn on water or something like that.
And she torched him to get back at him for killing him.
Because he escaped this climax of the show. Like, he kind of vanished, seemingly may have died, but we're like, he probably survived again.
His son gave him a blast of iciness because of their joint powers. And then he has one of those the Mummy kind of scenes, like when the Mummy did that big stand thing.
Oh yeah, you had to see his face in a cloud of ice
and stuff. So, but we know that he can actually break up his body just like ice into like puddles or gas, because that's how he survived the first time when he was destroyed. So this is kind of his son banishing him with that, and him departing in a blast of icy air up into the sky. But it looked like the scene from the Mummy when he was in the sand.
Yeah, a little bit. But Artemis made sure the job was done, tracked him down, and finished him off. And good, because he was like the third worst of the villains.
You're not coming back, she said.
Yeah. She's like, you're not coming back. You killed my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm. And I think she was totally justified.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially since her mom and dad had actually repented and gone good. It wasn't just a fake repenting. They were actually trying. So the redemption value in this was great. In fact, that was one of the other things I was going to mention. is when they were coming together about how Pemberton had undermined everybody. You found out that he had done a little bit to all of them. He had talked our man Rick into disabling the limiter on the hourglass without telling him the negative effects that it had on the original Hourman, his father. He had encouraged Beth to keep her parents out of it, supposedly for her safety, but in actuality, in the end there, they were helping her because they were talking to Dr. McNider and then giving her guidance on utilizing like the cape and other parts that went with the Professor Midnight outfit, and then had encouraged Wildcat to not give Shiv a chance at repenting, and had pushed her to not forgive Shiv or give her a chance to show that she had repented. So in each of those ways, and then he finally had convinced Courtney that she didn't deserve the staff. And all those things broke down all of their self-confidence and stuff, so they weren't working together, so he was better able to do what he was trying to do and convince Courtney to think that he deserved the staff more than she did. And we didn't even talk anything about Shiv, Mike, and Jakeem, because they also had a part in this too, because Jakeem made a wish that they would go to the one place that had the answers to Shiv's questions about how to stop herself from becoming part lizard, basically. And of course, with the ambiguity and things, the way he said he wanted to go, they go where they needed to go, and it ended up going to where Jakeem needed to go, but not necessarily where she needed to go.
Right. Well, it got them the answers. Like it was, I think it was something like, I need the answers to impress her, or something like that.
And that's what he needed, was a place to where he could impress her, and that's what happened. And then they also showed some of the limitations of the pin, because Jakeem's final wish was that he wished that the most beautiful girl in the world would be no longer plagued by her father and everything. And Michael's like, no, be specific. And he says, who's to say who's the most beautiful girl in the world? And Jakeem's like, I am. And that's the limitation of the pen, is the wielder of the pen is the one that can do some of the interpreting of it. And so it worked for once, and they turned the Dragon King, who's in the albino gorilla at this time, into a living stuffed animal, because the pin can't kill. So it couldn't kill him, so he's a living stuffed animal, and later on in the show, they've got like freaking other things playing with the stuffed animal, and Shiv saying, yep, have fun, Daddy.
I like how they kind of did a thing where it's like, it's not about being exact and precise in your language, it's like being precise with your intent or something like that. And so I think he said, his wish to stop the giant gorilla thing that had her dad's brain in it, she was like, I wish to help the most beautiful woman in the world not be threatened by her father anymore, or something like that. And that turned the monster into a teddy bear thing.
Yeah. Yep. And that was great. And then we also Mike got to go see his birth mother and have a reunion, and I guess she's starting to get things under control, but she comes back. But Mike comes back, gets in the car with Pat and I can't even think of the mom's name. And he thanks him for letting him go see her. Then he turns to his stepmom and says, I love you, Mom. And it's just like a total emotional thing because of that. It was really touching. They have to put those little bits of teen soap opera kind of stuff in there because that's one of the other things that CW is known for, is the emotional teen part of it. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good finale for Stargirl, except for the fact that they left so many teasers for more when they were ending the series. I want more. I know you do too, Lurch. Come on, don't deny
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent. It was a pretty good show.
But
It had its moments. Like sometimes it got a little teenage drama-esque occasionally, but overall it was a pretty decent show. So,
and overall, that is something that the Arrowverse was known for. Well, there was a lot
yeah.
of that in the Arrowverse. There's a lot of that in the CW network, period. Anyway, we have no time left for Willow at all. It is 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So,
and so it'll be 3
will,
weeks before. It'll be
two
3
weeks.
weeks. 2 weeks before we come back. So there'll be another.
We'll be here on January 3rd. But remember, most of January 3rd's episode, we've already said, is going to be the year 2022 looking back. We're going to kind of look back at this year. So
some highlights from the year.
We're going to highlight some of the stuff of the year, some of our favorite things, some of the stuff we've talked about, all the ups and downs that we've gone through in 2022, as we talked about a couple of episodes ago, which I thought was a pretty good idea that Angel kind of proposed. Some of that, and it evolved into this. So on January 3rd is when we'll be back.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like
not
a really
next
good.
week.
That's a really good number.
Yep.
January 3rd sounds like a good number.
But not next week.
Yeah, it's better than January 6th.
Right. So not next week, but the week after, we will be back. But we will be doing 2022 in review, and we're going to probably start from now on with the Angel's suggestion of asking how everybody's week has gone, or how everybody been doing since the last episode, because we're going to have 2 weeks between this episode. Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful holiday. Whatever holiday you support, there are a few of them out there, but whichever one that's your choice, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Try to stay warm in the cold weather. We're supposed to get down in the negatives Thursday night, especially Thursday morning and Thursday evening. So we're supposed to get some snow. The last I looked, from like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're supposed to have snow, and that's according to weather.com. But of course, we all know the weatherman's the least accurate person on the planet.
Yeah.
But otherwise, everybody go out and have fun. Maybe by the time we see our next episode, we'll have seen a couple of movies too. I really want to go see Violent Night.
That looks fun.
It looks really good.
It does. It looks really fun. Let's talk about that.
I mean, that's what it looks
I just rewatched, I guess technically, the original Avatar that came out like a decade ago. I hadn't seen it since it was in theaters, and so we watched it last night, and it's a pretty good movie. And I'm always impressed by how James Cameron, almost every movie he makes, like, invents new technologies to make that movie.
He was in the original Avatar was the only movie I've ever seen that fully utilized 3D.
Did a great job. That and Jackass 3D. Those are like the two that made the most of 3D.
I didn't watch any of them. So.
Yeah. And so I'm wanting to watch the new movie. Just came out, The Way of Water. Which, funny story, one of the actors in it, and I don't know what character she plays, one of the actors in it was like, I filmed that movie so long ago, and then didn't hear anything about it, and I thought it came out already, and it was just a bomb because in the box office because no one has said anything. But she's like, I thought it came out years ago. I forgot about it.
Really? It was filmed that long ago?
Yeah, I think she said they wrapped up filming that one like 4 years ago.
A lot of the delay is because of COVID and other things, yeah.
Well, my understanding
Well,
is,
no, the technology.
yeah, it's a lot of post production, and also my understanding they filmed they filmed 4 movies back to
Oh yeah.
back,
Well,
and now they're going through and like editing and doing all the post production stuff, and then releasing a movie every 2 years until they get to the 5th movie.
Hmm.
So,
Really?
yeah.
So is it gonna be Way of Water, Way of Earth, Way of Fire, and Way of Air?
Well,
I
the
don't know.
first one
I
was
don't know.
basically
But
Way of
you know,
Earth.
it's funny you ask that because the show Avatar: The Last Airbender wanted to call their show Avatar, but they didn't know there was a movie in production that was using the name already. So when they tried to file for the like copyright stuff for the TV show, the animated show, they were declined it because there was already a movie that took the name Avatar, so they had to change the name.
Wait, I thought Avatar: The Last Airbender came out first.
I don't know which came out first, but regardless of what
I-
came out first, James Cameron had filed for the copyright first.
Yeah. Now,
That's
the first Avatar movie
great
was
because
kind of the Way of
Avatar
Earth.
came out. Yeah,
Well,
I was like like 13 or 12 whenever Avatar: The Last Airbender came out, and like the Avatar movie came out like when I was like 18. Like that would have been a crazy like 5 years before the movie came out.
I mean, we've been waiting 10 years, I think, for the second movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Anyway, we're done for this week. We will catch everybody next week. Not next January 3rd. Same bad time, same bad channel with the same crazy zany cast of characters. Me, Lurch, and Angel, hopefully, barring real life. We all know how real life can get in the way. Anything from technology problems to work calling one or more of us away. I don't work, but Lurch and Angel both do. So if their job takes them to where they can't do it, they can't do it.
Just kidding.
Anyway, everybody, as always, we'll have this over on my YouTube channel. And remember, half of everything I make on the channel goes to Extra Life, which helps kids in the Children's Miracle Network, specifically in the local Cox Hospital Network. So, thank you so much for everybody who does subscribe or give bits or anything. And have a great rest of the year. We'll see you in 2023. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
See ya.